Fellow senators, what if I told you that America was under attack? Well, by whom you may ask? Essentially, by itself. You see, over the past decade or so, America has made certain policy changes and economic decisions that have proven to be counterproductive. We see a reflection of these harmful economic and policy changes through the rapid increase of our country's national debt. Currently, the national debt is held at about 77% of our nation's GDP, up to $19.2 trillion of 2017 stats. During only one other period in U.S. history, World War II, has that debt ever exceeded 40% of the GDP. Not only has it been the first time ever in history during a peacetime economy that the national debt has risen over 40%, but it is also climbing at an inordinate rate. In response to the crisis we face today, we, the future generation of leaders and policymakers, must address the problem at hand with a plausible solution. In order to sustain and protect the longevity of America, I propose that we maintain the current debt load of 75% of the nation's GDP. The rationality behind my proposition involves analyzing modern-day circumstances. First, recall that this is the country's first time to ever soar above 40% of national debt per GDP and advance rapidly in its debt position. We must take careful precautionary measures when approaching this crisis. Second, consider the current circumstance on policies such as new tariff taxes and Trump Medicaid plans. We have yet to see economic reactions to these new policies. And third, acknowledge that the time allocated for this plan is only 10 years, a short amount of time for a big amount of change. Therefore, it is both economically and politically feasible to advocate for a fixture of 75% debt maintenance considering the various current circumstances. In order to achieve this goal percentage, I have created 4 major variables to act upon: Social Security, Medicaid, tax, and tariffs. First, I propose that we raise the age of retirement and attainment of full Social Security benefits to 70 years of age. This is a justifiable action as Social Security provision was never created to last 10 or 15 plus years as it does today in a rather unsustainable manner. Furthermore, Americans are enjoying longer, healthier lives, quoted by demographer Kenneth G. from Duke University. And as we have respected the lives of our older members of society, with Social Security, we must respect the life of America. This plan of action could save America $60 billion. Second, Medicaid has been changed for the better as Trump introduced the American Health Care Act. The CBO, Congressional Budget Office, estimate that the AHCA's, the American Health Care Act, Medicaid financing changes would reduce federal Medicaid spending by $834 billion within the span of 10 years. Third, we come to tax changes. Each and every year, the U.S. loses an estimated $100 billion in tax revenues due to offshore tax abuse by the wealthy and large corporations. We must justify this wrongdoing and retain the money back by taxation, ultimately resulting in $100 billion in revenues a year. We should also institute a corporate tax dodging prevention act, which would raise more than $580 billion over the next decade by eliminating the most egregious corporate offshore tax haven abuses. We should also establish a Robin Hood tax on Wall Street speculators. Both the economic crisis and the deficit crisis are a direct result of the greed and recklessness on Wall Street. Creating a speculation fee of just 0.03% would reduce the deficit by $352 billion within the next 10 years, according to the Joint Committee on Taxation. Right now, someone who earns $113,000 a year pays the same amount of money in Social Security as a billionaire. This makes no sense. Applying the Social Security payroll tax on income above $250,000 would ensure that Social Security remains solvent. This plan would only impact the wealthiest 1.3% of wage earners. Finally, fourth, we take into consideration the $60 billion in revenue on tariffs made from increased tariff tax on China. Results have been optimistic as China has accepted the new taxes on tariffs. To conclude, my plan creates $396.6 billion in revenue, a 2.1% increase every year for 10 years, and we will use this excess 0.2% to allocate to our military budget, as an adequate military budget is 4% instead of the lacking 3.5% we have today. So senators, if we adhere to making changes using these 4 variables